Crystal Tower Information Whiskey 21530 Zulu, wind 060 at 5.
076 Mike Juliet, this is departure radar contact.
Hazardous weather information from Minnesota available on flight service frequency.
You've dialed in the Flying Midwest podcast, connecting aviators from across America's heartland, sharing news, information, and events from around the region.
Calling Nancy 53 on Overtower, Roger, turn left heading 070, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Sit back, relax, and join our crew for some hangar talk as we discuss a wide variety of regional aviation topics.
Archer 71143, flying flag, runway 28 left, quick takeoff, left hand southbound.
And now, from our home at the Anoka County Blaine Airport, our checklist is complete, and we're ready for departure for another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Contact departure, have your flight.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast, live on location at the AOPA tent for another great episode. We have Matt Quinn. If you've ever seen a night show, well, if you've seen a night show in the last 2 years here at AirVenture, Matt is the brainworks behind it. So we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us.
No, not a problem. We enjoy getting together with everybody and telling everybody what we do and how we do it. And the hat says Great Lakes Rescue. That's our public safety division of our company. So,
yeah, you guys have a lot of different components, so we'll be excited to talk to you about that too. So, we start every interview with what we call a Fast 5 questions. It's just to kind of break the ice with everybody.
bring it.
And just quick response, or quick-ish. You can expand a little bit if you want. Question number 1: do you have a favorite place on the AirVenture grounds?
So honestly, I love every part of the AirVenture grounds, and what a lot of people don't know is back when I was a kid, I was actually part of Civil Air Patrol, and
Okay.
I worked Blue Beret here.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know these grounds intimately
I
from,
bet you
from
do.
years
I bet.
past, and but honestly, being with my team on the other side, we have our own camping space and everything
Okay.
else and stuff, and the pyro guys and the Tora guys, and we're all together over there.
Okay.
And it's like this whole once a year family bonding thing that
Yeah.
we have. I think that's become my best part. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that a lot of people have, not that they have the same spot as you guys, but I mean, I think it's similar for a lot of people. They come here and it's just a big family reunion. It's
exactly.
just such a great vibe.
yeah, AirVenture is so much more than airplanes and aviation and everything else and stuff. It's everybody getting together, everybody being a part of something bigger than themselves,
Yep.
and everybody spending time together. And that's one thing that I love about AirVenture is that on the performer side, we're busy, we're rushed,
Yeah.
we always have stuff going on. But when we do get the few minutes to get out here and everything, everybody's taking their time, they're walking around, they're relaxed, they're enjoying themselves, and that's amazing to see.
Yeah. All right, question number 2 for you. Do you have a favorite aircraft on the grounds this year?
It's not here. I am a big B-17 fan.
Okay.
I love the B-17. Don't get me wrong, I got a lot of friends that fly the P-51s and the Corsairs, and being in the air show industry, I've become very, very close to a lot of these pilots and a lot of these aircraft and everything, but man, my favorite's still that B-17. When I was a kid growing up, there was a computer game that came out. You remember that movie Memphis Belle?
Sure do.
And they came out with the computer game version of
I didn't know that. Okay.
And man, I was addicted to that thing. We'd be flying, you'd fly in missions and stuff, and you get to switch between all the roles in the aircraft and
Okay.
everything and stuff. So, yeah, B-17 is still my favorite.
That's really cool. Question number 3. In your opinion, what is the ugliest aircraft you've seen?
Does mine count?
I mean, if you want.
I mean,
What do you have?
no, I mean, just our drones.
Okay.
Our drones aren't meant to be pretty.
Oh, sure,
They're
sure.
meant to be functional.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you strap a bunch of pyro to them as well, they're just like ugly little spiders sitting out in the field. So does that count?
I think that counts for sure.
Okay.
All right, question number 4. Do you have a favorite aviation movie?
I think I'm like everybody else, and we grew up in the Top Gun era.
Yeah.
And then you got, obviously Top Gun Maverick that came out. For my staff, I actually rented an entire theater, and we all went together as a group, as staff members, and watched Maverick come out.
That's great. Are you hiring? I'd love to come watch Maverick with you guys. All right, and the final question of the Fast Five. If you could meet anyone in aviation history, dead or alive, who would it be?
The funny thing is like growing up, being in Civil Air Patrol, being in the aviation industry, like I always thought like Chuck Yeager was like the guy to meet, and everything and stuff. And I'm showing my age, but I was actually fortunate enough to meet him at one point in time. And then I met I don't know if you remember this, but I also met Captain Scott O'Grady, who was the Bosnia pilot that got shot down. And, he made it through and everything and stuff. And so those were like some of the initial people. And then as I got older, as I got into the aviation world and everything and stuff, I think I have a lot of mentors that I look up to, that I talk with on a regular basis and stuff. In the air show industry. But man, Rob was like the coolest guy. He was like the big brother to all of us and everything and stuff. And I'm just honored that I got to spend time with him.
Yeah.
And to all the Rob Holland fans out there and everything and stuff, you guys. Not everybody actually gets to meet the man that flies the aircraft, but I will tell you what, he was the most humble, energetic air show performer that I've ever met. And to me, for the future, I would probably say, everybody would wish and hope they could have met him at some point in time.
Sure. And you guys did a great tribute to him last night, so.
It was our honor. We did a lot of coordination with his family and with the other air show performers and with EAA and everything and stuff to make that happen.
Well, thank you for answering our Fast Five questions. I'm going to toss it over to Badger here for some actual interview questions.
Oh, so now I'm going to get the tough questions.
You passed round one.
Okay.
On to round two.
So can you tell us a little bit about Great Lakes Drones, how you got started, what gave you the idea, and how you've grown over time?
So Great Lakes Drone Company, I originally founded it back in August of 2016. And I founded it as a side job. It was 107 came out, and it's like, okay, how can I make some money on the side and everything? In December of 2016, I saw videos of Intel partnering with Disney doing the drone show there, and I said to myself, well, if they can do it, somebody else can do it. Granted, there was a lot of beer involved with that decision-making process. And by March of 2017, we were the second one approved by the FAA to do drone light shows. At that time, we built our own drones. And I think it was late March 2017, early April, we flew our first shows. And we've been flying shows ever since. So now that Intel has retired and sold out to Nova Sky Stories, we're actually the longest running drone light show company in the United States.
Oh, very cool. You got into AirVenture fairly early on in that endeavor, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. It was 2018. We came here.
Wow.
It was new, innovative.
Yeah.
We had a good idea of what we were doing, but we're still now, today, 9 years later, we're still in the infancy of drone light shows.
Sure.
And a lot of it's regulatory related, but a lot of it's also technology related. Every time we turn around, right now the drone light show industry has actually come together and created an ASTM working group, and we're actually building out the standards internationally for where it is right now and where we hope for it to go in the future.
did you start first with the light shows, or did you have the like the public safety aspect of it first, or is it kind of all at the same time?
No, it was actually, so it was first realty stuff, and then it was inspection type stuff, some ag stuff here and there. And then the drone light show stuff started pretty quick, and then it wasn't until probably about 2018 when the company had grown enough that we had a bunch of thermal drones and a bunch of other high tech stuff that was coming out back then, that we started getting requests from local public safety agencies. And then we started getting so many that we formalized the process. Okay. And then the public safety side has just kind of grown from there. And a lot of us that work at the company all come from a public safety background. Okay. So I've been, I was a flight paramedic for like 5 years. I've been a critical care paramedic for years. That's my background before I started flying these little toys around. And that process and everything, and like it's kind of come full circle, because now our public safety side, not only do we do public safety drone response, but we also have a whole medical division now. Oh, wow. That is providing support services to the local community that's there. So I think when I left to come here, we were just over drone and medical rescue stuff all together. We were just over 800 911 calls for the year so far this year.
That's very cool.
So how does that work then? Does let's say it's a law enforcement agency, do they contract you to launch the drone for them?
Yeah. So basically, we're a service contract provider for the sheriff's department or the local law enforcement agencies, and all of our staff goes through additional training, additional background requirements and everything, and then basically we're just another public safety agency that they call either when A, their drones are already tied up, or B, they need additional resources that they don't have. We're the primary responder for 3 sheriff's departments, and we're the backup responder for 4 sheriff's departments, as well as a bunch of like local municipality agencies. And then we also respond automatically on a lot of like structure fires and different types of field and wildland type fires. So we have teams that are just on duty and dedicated that respond to that. And but yeah, it's all contract laid out. And because if you think about it this year, it's kind of like when we came up with the concept as we build this out, it was more as like crowdsource funding of a emergency drone services. So instead of like one sheriff's department paying out, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to build out their own drone program at the time, we had 2 or 3 sheriff's departments and different agencies all going in together, and they were paying us. We brought in all the nice toys, all the specific training, the staff that's just dedicated to that versus cross-training their staff. Right. And, we would just come in. Obviously, we don't do any of the arresting or anything and stuff, but we're on the radio and we're like guiding them to where they need to go, whether or not it's search and rescue or law enforcement related, that type of thing. So
right, or potentially even as a first responder drone, going to a scene and saying, no, this isn't actually here, and potentially canceling a squad altogether.
So like right now in our coverage area, I-94, which is one of the busiest highways and stuff in the country, there's a lot of construction going on, and access is very, very limited right now for the next 3 years. Okay. So we actually have it set up now that when a call comes out on that section of highway between mile marker XX and mile marker XY, the drone takes off, gets up, verifies the actual location and the quickest access point for law enforcement, EMS, and for fire to direct them in, just because it's so hard. Like, 2 exits right now are closed down, so we can't even use the exits to get on and off the highway.
Right. Oh, sure. So it sounds like you have a pretty robust program on the public safety support side then.
We try.
Good.
It's a learning curve, because back when all of this started, none of it existed. Right. And now with like LEDA and other organizations that we work with and everything and stuff, we've formalized the process nationwide and training standards and everything else and stuff. And it's kind of cool that we've been a part of that for years.
We call that the Great Deceiver. because you think it's something cool and it's just a tri-motor.
Yeah.
I get fooled 2 or 3 times a day. I'm like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's a tri-motor.
Yeah, it wakes you up nice and early, too, in the morning.
I bet it does. Do you have any specific stories on the first response side that really, like, whether highlights or something you guys are really proud of as far as a response that you can talk about?
Oh, there's so many success stories over the years that it's hard to isolate one versus another.
Okay.
There's a few times where you get that call and, like, the kid's been missing for, like, 2-3 hours, and then, we end up finding him with a drone, guiding everybody into him and everything and stuff. And I think there was, like, some pictures of where one of my pilots was overhead. The cop and myself were carrying the child out of the woods and everything and stuff. That was in some of the newspapers and everything. So, I mean, there's not one in particular that stands out among the others. It's kind of like, all of them combined of the lives that we've impacted and changed over the years. Even on the drone show side, the lives and things that we've changed and impacted over the years. When, there's a press release, and if I'm jumping around, yell at me.
Oh, you're fine.
But there's a press release coming out today that on Wednesday, when we did that show, it was Women's Venture Day here at EAA,
Yep.
and nobody knew, but for the first time ever, we had an all-female team fly the show and produce the show that flew on Wednesday night. And for the first time ever, I wasn't with them. I was in the Airboss stand.
Nice.
That's one of the first times I've ever got to see one of our own shows. But
that's got to be a proud moment for you too, to see where that's come from and and be able to sit back and just watch.
Well, yeah. I mean, once I got over, the pacing back and forth and everything and stuff, because it's different for me.
Yeah.
When the first cues hit and when the first pyros went off and when the first shapes hit and everything was on time and everything else, and I had full confidence that they can do it, but anybody that's built a company, anybody that's trained everybody from nothing to where everybody is now, because, like, you don't go to school to become a drone light show pilot. That doesn't exist.
Well, not yet. I'm sure UND will come up with it at some point.
Yeah, we've actually been working with a couple of universities on this.
Cool.
So everybody that works here and stuff has been, and even me, I taught myself everything. So training everybody as we built to where we are right now, it was a huge proud moment. I had my kids behind me in the audience. My wife was there taking pictures and everything and stuff. I'm up on the Airboss stand watching the show that I designed actually all come together. It was an amazing feeling, and it was a proud moment, for all of us. So
that's great.
So when you started doing the drone light shows, you talked about how you just sort of decided, well, if they can do it, I can too, and you started building your own drones. What were some of the challenges and hurdles you faced at the very beginning to try and figure this all out?
Well, so first was one, getting the parts. So there was a Canadian company that we worked with first. They no longer exist, they had a software version, and so I worked with them initially on their software and the builds. The hardest part, because we didn't switch to Lumineer drones until 2022. 2022, 2023 is when we finally made that switch. And so parts was always a hard time, and then tuning everything to get that look that you have. You'll notice in 2018 when we did the first show here, again, it was pretty much just like Intel and us that were doing shows.
Yeah.
And we were still, as safe as it was at that time, we were still learning. But that's why EAA had us here, because, hey, that's what it's all about, is learning and showing off new tech. So you'll notice that in that show, there's still some videos around and stuff. We have a heart in the sky, just basic shapes is what we did. But you'll see some drones that go up and down kind of on their own that has no sequence. And a lot of people don't realize that's related to vibration. So
no kidding.
It's vibration in the drones that's throwing off the flight controller. And so there's two of the biggest factors that we always had to work around was the stability of the drones in flight. So one, vibrations can throw off the flight controller because, flight controllers were still not that great at that point in time, let alone cost effective great. So you'd see these drones go up and down and everything and stuff. So that's on the Z-axis, that's a bunch of vibrations, and it could be just like a chip in the blade. It could be so many different things, and like fine-tuning those things out. And then we have what's called the toilet bowl. So that's where like a drone's going like this up in the sky. That's a compass calibration related issue.
Okay.
So, it was always a struggle just trying to, get 50 drones that are all perfectly calibrated, and because the tech just wasn't that great then. And then back then, we didn't have RTK. So we were just flying on GPS and GLONASS. And then RTK came out for drones, and then other things came out, and then we partnered with UGCS with their DSS software, and then we started using RTK and building it out more, and that helped with a lot of the stability issues, even beyond the vibrations, just because of the accuracy. Wednesday night show, when we flew it, we were flying at 0.506 meters in accuracy.
Oh, wow.
So, the accuracy from where we started to, back when we first started, it was like in RTK, we were like 1.5, in accuracy. And then now, we're down to, flying shows at like 0.5 meters in accuracy. You're talking about centimeters here, so.
Very cool. So, how did this evolve over time? You said that you started with some basic shapes, things like that. How do you how does it all come together, the planning and making this all work?
Well, so specifically about air shows, there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously 2018 was the first air show ever to incorporate drones. We were way up on the north side of the field. We were away from everybody else and everything and stuff. And then over time, as we proved the technology and how safe we can do it, and as drones were more accepted into the air show community and everything and stuff, everything kind of grew. And then it was last year at Sun and Fun, working with Dennis Dunbar, one of the greatest air show creators and minds that are out there, was the first time that we really pushed the FAA on. So, how about we have drones in the sky with planes in the sky flying around the drones and stuff blowing up, and we worked hard with the FAA, and the FAA worked really hard with us to make it happen. And since then, it's been more about, okay, how can we make it even safer? How can we create a production? Because that's what it is. It's a full-on production. How can we create a production that nobody's ever seen before, and change it up every single time that we do this, and make it entertaining, and make people see things that they've just never seen before, and everybody coming together to the table over months of planning between Tora with the dynamite and On Final and Spearblauer here for the fireworks, and Nate Hammond and Ken Reeder, and they asked for the blimp this year. How do you build Goodyear airship into a night finale show?
Right.
How do we give the audience something they've never seen before?
Yeah.
You'll notice in that show we did right after the nuke went off, we revealed what was basically Boeing's artist rendering of the F-47. That's what that front end was. Okay. And then we did a visual illusion and made it do a barrel roll like that.
Yeah.
The drones didn't fly like that. It just, boom, barrel roll. That was all a visual illusion. We made that shape like 4 times and just turned on and off lights and flipped it around. So how does our design team create that stuff, come up with that stuff, and then mixing it with the music and everything else? And the production just keep getting better. Last year is when most of the drone light show companies started getting our pyro approvals. So we started adding pyro. The winds on Wednesday night were so unpredictable and everything and stuff. Yeah. We didn't go that route. Hopefully Saturday we may do that. But safety's first. And so anybody who's here on Saturday night, you may get to see pyro coming off some of the drones.
Oh, cool.
But there's different things that we do, and and I know the funny thing is like everybody's asking, so what was that shape that we made that Nate Hammond came in on, the big circle thing? And that was done for a couple different reasons. One, if the timing's right, Nate hits the right spot, the lights hit the right spot, everything else hits the right spot, depending on where you're at on the field, it's going to look like he kind of came through that circle. Yeah. It was basically a portal. But the fun part is the amount of posts on Facebook and social media of people guessing what it is, what engine part is it, what is it. That's part of the excitement of what we do and how we do it. And we knew that was going to happen. But let's take this to another level. So if you actually looked at that portal and you looked at Nate's aircraft, maybe this is the first step, because I cannot confirm or deny this. Maybe this is the first step of the FAA and us and everybody coming together of how does it look in the sky in the future if Nate flies through that hole. Sure. Or if a skydiver comes through that hole. So every time we do an air show, we're safe. There's so much planning that goes involved in it. But at the same time, all of us are, what's next? What's the next evolution? What's the next evolution together that everybody's safe, everybody's going to go home, and the audience is going to get, this an amazing entertainment experience.
So on the day of a show itself, or maybe it's even before the day of the show, how long does it take to set up? What all is involved with it?
So when, most of all the work goes into it before we even get here. Right now, obviously, we flew our show on Wednesday. So to give you a timeline on Wednesday, we have a safety brief at 10 a.m. with just the night show performers and just the finale for more performers. Everybody that's in that last 25 minutes. Okay. So we brief every single time that we fly. And then we have the regular air show brief that starts at 11:30. After that, we eat, and then typically about 2-3 o'clock, we're on the field setting up the grid. So when you see that P-51 20 feet off the deck across the field, we're their target practice because we're show center. So they're literally flying over us at 30, 40 feet off the deck and everything because we're considered essential personnel. Yeah. And, our friends like to have fun with us, and it's great. And it's always fun when we have like a new staff member, it's their first air show or whatever and stuff like that, and they're ducking, and then you got Tora blowing up stuff during the Warbird stuff, and then, I got my staff that, brand new first time, falling on the ground because like a wall of fire just went up next to them and everything and stuff, and getting scared. We build out all of that out and everything and stuff, and then after all of that's done, then it's set and wait. All the batteries are on board, everything's out and everything and stuff like that. Our show time on Wednesday was 9:46 or 9:36 for the show start time. So at 8, but we took off at 9:40 something. So we battery on at an hour before showtime. Okay. So all the staff goes through, plugs in all the batteries and everything. At that point in time, we upload the show run. We do all the safety checks, everything else and stuff leading up to the show. After that, fly the show. Then we pack everything up and put everything back in the trailer, and then get ready to do it again on Saturday. Yesterday and today has been nothing but battery charging.
Wow. How long do those batteries last then once you got them on there?
So typically a brand new battery, obviously, these batteries have some showtime on them. Yeah. A brand new battery and everything, you'll get about 32 minutes of hover time. But you have to understand that show that you saw on Wednesday night, one, if we have pyro, that burns the batteries up more. Two, specifically, we're moving some of those drones at 8.5 meters per second. Okay. So we're busting through some of those formations. Then you add in the wind and everything else. Yeah. So typically at air shows, we try to stay in the 18 to 20 minute flight time profile. We have done You look at, I don't know, what was it, Sun and Fun, not this year, but last year, I think, actually Batavia was worse. Batavia was 22 minutes of flight, and we actually had one battery during the landing sequence say, "I'm done."
Oh, no.
and it went into emergency land mode. So, yeah, brand new batteries are great, but, these batteries, we have a rotation cycle that basically every quarter we replace like 100 batteries. There's your tri-motor again.
I looked, too. You caught me.
Yep.
What's that? Ah, dang it. It's the tri-motor again. All right, I think that's long enough for it to be gone. So you talk about a lot of the work happens before the show actually starts. So, and I think earlier you talked about, you guys are doing some planning like months in advance. So what does that look like as far as how much work goes into programming and creating that show?
So typically, just now you look at this show in particular. We go into, okay, first we get all the players together and we just do a big overreach of, hey, is there anything that we specifically want to do? Then after that, we go through and we build out the soundtrack.
Okay.
Once the soundtrack is built out, then the drone team sits down and goes through, okay, we're going to do these shapes. The fireworks team and Tora go through, okay, based on the shapes that we're going to do and the music and the timeline, this is when we're going to blow stuff up, this is when we're going to do this, and then we work on putting it all together. From the drone design standpoint and everything, one Oshkosh show can be about, and we're using AI now to speed up the process of building out some of these shows, but it can still take easily, 80 to 120 hours of manual programming.
Wow, that's incredible.
So while they're airborne, how do you keep them from running into each other?
So there's no secret sauce to that. It's all about programming. So none of the drones talk to each other. There's not a drone light show company out there right now that has an entirely intelligent fleet.
Huh.
It is all based on when the show's designed. We do speed checks, we do distance checks, and it's all about them flying their flight path. Each drone has their own flight path. Now, that's where the pilot becomes the secret sauce to making sure nothing happens. So typically the only time that anything happens is when there's some type of failure point, and it's designed so that if there's a failure point, let's say that a drone blows a motor, okay? Let's look at Rob Holland's logo that was up there. To you, it looks straight, it's vertical and everything else. In all reality, it's tilted like this. So if any one failure point comes down, it's not going to take out a bunch of other ones with it.
Oh, okay.
So it's all about the design process and everything. The pilot steps in, and there's different things that we can do. One unique thing about our drones with Lumineer and partnering with them is we have additional safety factors involved. So, typically, if a drone, let's say one drone comes into contact with another drone, because let's say it goes into emergency land mode because it's got a bad battery, and it's descending into another drone. 99% of the time, the pilot can intercept that, adjust things, move things around and everything. But there is times that happens. And what's the most fragile part is blades. Yeah. So the leg of the drone coming down trips a blade on another drone. Well, now that drone's going to do everything it can to try and get back to where it's supposed to be. Our drones are smart enough to realize that if it starts over-torquing and over-RPMing to a certain level, that it's going to go into emergency mode and say, look, something's wrong, and it's going to try and land on its own, or if it can't maintain it, it's going to kill itself and just fall. And that's before it even gets to all the other safety features with the geofences and everything else that we have to protect the audience and protect the pilots and protect everybody else that's out there.
So how many drones are we talking about to put together a show like that?
This one here, typically like what you see in the sky and everything, and this is the fun part, is, whether or not it's 400, whether or not it's 500, whether or not it's 600, we've kind of gotten away from telling people like, oh, it's 400 drones, oh, it's 500 drones, oh, it's 600 drones, because even let's say that we did a 600 drone show, the likelihood of any shape up there having all 600 drones in it,
Oh, sure.
is very minimal, because especially when we're trying to make quick transitions, we're constantly moving drones that are dark into other shapes so that we can transition from one shape to another shape very, very quickly.
Okay.
So, back in the day, it was all about, how can we make a 600 drone flag or a 5,000 drone flag, or, Guinness Book record this, Guinness Book record that. And, for us, it's all about production. It's all about production value and how can we get, that shape and everything else. I mean, when we were designing this and everything, we always tried to give love to certain elements of the air show and to certain aspects of the audience that's here.
Yeah.
We talked about the T-Rex and the Triceratops. Well, it's somewhat pop culture related, but the amount of kids that are here watching and stuff, how can we capture their attention?
Yeah.
How can we mold that STEM and that art and that music and everything together and that aviation aspect and put it all together for them? So that was for them. And then, that opening sequence when the drones are first up and everything, and we have, and granted with drones, whether or not you want to do a KC-135 or KC-46, they kind of look the same with a drone build and everything.
Okay.
So when you do the refueling tanker, and then you do an F-35, and you give love to the refueling guys that are behind the scenes that make everything happen, even here, for the military and everything and stuff, and then you do that break, and then the F-35 pulls up, and then boom, 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 with all the dynamite going off and fuel going off and everything for the opening of basically that part of the show. That's the halfway point of the show, and that's kind of how we built it out. So you got all this pyro and lasers, and we try and highlight each group. So the lasers get some alone time in the sky, and the fireworks get alone time in the sky, and then Nate gets alone, kind of alone time, and Eric and everything else and stuff. All these different elements that we put together to make all of this happen.
Well, it works. So it's very
I'm glad
entertaining.
it works.
Like last year, like that A10 last year was awesome.
Yes.
And then,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like I said, like that's kind of what I put this benchmark in my head. I'm like, how are they going to beat the A10? And then the dinosaur stuff comes on. I mean, I'm not, maybe the target audience for that, but I'm like, this is really cool. So
yeah, well, and that's the thing. Is like we get asked about the A10 sequence all the time, and I guarantee you that A10 sequence, if not a different version of it, will be back at some point in time. But we can't do the same thing every year either.
Right.
So how do we make it different? This year we did. And I don't know when this will air and everything, but different people will see different aspects of the show and wonder where we came up with that. So obviously we had the refueling thing, but just before the grand finale, where everything's going off and the EAA AirVenture logo comes up, which normally we have wind here. We almost always have wind here. Wednesday night we had 0 wind, and the wall of fire just covered up the logo altogether. And so because we time it that typically about 15 seconds we keep that up after the wall of fire, and that's usually long enough for the smoke to clear. The wind was dead, and
just hung there.
Yeah, it just hung there, and with the heat and humidity and cold air, it just hung. It didn't move. So it sucks, but it is what it is. But prior to that, we had Goodyear in the finale because it's their 100th anniversary.
Yeah.
How many people noticed that we did a Fairchild tribute for the 100th anniversary of Fairchild just before the grand finale? That's why the A-10 was there and 3 other Fairchild aircraft in that diamond formation that came up. And instead of coming up and dispersing this way, we came up and dispersed this way. So it gave a different visual to it and everything, and it looked like it was kind of coming at you.
Yep. So you mentioned it was an all-female crew this time.
Correct.
What kind of work are they having to do during the show itself to make sure that everything's going well? I mean, is it monitoring? Is it actually taking control of some of the drones?
Yeah, so once we get to takeoff, so first of all, everybody's got a cell phone. How many times does your cell phone not do what you want it to do?
All the time.
All the time. So now imagine just having 400 cell phones that you're trying to get to do the same thing all the time. So during the setup, once we battery power on, they're all standing out there in the grid. So they may be power cycling some drones. They may be checking something. The pilot may be seeing an error or a calibration error. So then they're going to fix that, adjust that. It's all your pre-flight takeoff stuff.
Yeah.
Just like any other pilot does. We're just doing it in mass production. So we get through that. We get through all of that, and then we're like, then we do our arming test, make sure all the blades are spinning, everything's good, all the lights are on, all the colors are working, everything else. Once we get to that point that we're good to launch, then it's like the calm before the storm. And then at that point in time, once we get ready for the launch, then everybody's assigned a certain area. So they're all assigned in a certain area. The pilot's in a trailer. The pilot's not seeing anything. They're only watching the screen. So everybody's outside watching the show, and then basically we run with like one visual observer for every 100 drones in the sky. Here at Oshkosh, we tend to bring more just because we don't have all day to set up and all day to break down because of just the demographics here. But when we really look at it, so we have like 4 people that are out there, and we take off in 4 groups. So that's 100 drones per group or whatever and stuff like that. Sometimes it's 150, sometimes it's 200. It just kind of depends on how we program it. And everybody's watching their grid take off. Are we getting any of that toilet bowl? Are we getting any bouncing? Are we getting any oscillations? Did any not take off? Does any not have a light on? And then they're feeding that back to the pilot, and the pilot's looking at those drones, making decisions before we get up to, once we get up to that final grid up in the sky and they start to do that dispersal, we make all of our critical takeoff decisions in that first 90 seconds. So we evaluate all the drones in the sky, safety check all of them, verify everything. That's why you see that grid hover there. That's at our first 90 seconds. Just like a helicopter takes off and does a little rotation, we're doing that with hundreds of drones. Because after that point, we're good to go. They run their show, and then at that point in time, they're calling out shapes. Okay, is the shape solid? Are all the drones performing correctly? Are they all moving correctly? They're giving all that feedback on headset to the pilot. And then, for instance, we had an issue Wednesday night, and not one of you guys noticed. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even notice. And our team handled it perfectly. After the portal, and the portal went into the EAA logo, one of the drones had an SD card write failure. So it couldn't read its next flight path. So the safety mechanism kicked in, and it went into hover. So the pilot allowed it to go into EAA logo, the EAA logo to come down and land, and to everybody out there, it was just a star up in the sky. It was a white light that was just sitting there. And after the show was down on the ground, she communicated with the air boss, said, hey, I got one drone I left up there. I'm going to work on bringing it down now. That way Nate, who was coming in to land, and everybody else knew that we still had one drone up. And then they brought it in and landed it after everything else. But all the safety mechanisms worked. Everything worked the way that they were supposed to. And it was a great show. And nobody even knew.
I sure didn't.
I didn't either. I probably thought it was the ISS if I saw it.
The ISS did fly over.
It did,
Wednesday night,
Starlight Aerial Productions.
That's
for
our
the drone
brand.
show. This is the brand for the
for the drone show stuff.
And I set it
We've
up.
been battling this a lot, so head of marketing will be very
So
proud.
the problem is,
Well, then I screwed it up.
Well, no, you're fine. So Great Lakes Drone Company is the overall company. Back in, prior to 2020, just prior to COVID, is when we rebranded the Drone Light Show side to Starlight Aerial Productions. Problem is then, COVID happened, everything else happened and stuff like that. But the problem is like we kept getting phone calls from clients saying, hey, we know you're Great Lakes Drone Company. Will you do a show in California? Will you do a show in, So our company name was regionalized. And we wanted to get away from that. And we also wanted to push more towards, we're a production company. We're not just a drone light show company. We're a production company, and I think that's what sets us apart from a lot of the other drone light show companies that are out there. When you go through, there's great companies out there. They do amazing things, and I'm friends with a lot of them, and I know what they do. But I think one thing that really sets us apart and everything and stuff is, one, the American-made drones that we're using. And 2, the production value of how we build out our shows. And and the realism that we bring to a lot of this stuff. It's very rare that you see any cartoonish or anything in the sky that we create. And occasionally we do for the fun aspects and everything else and stuff. But we really try to be on point on a lot of that. So that's why we did that brand. And because so many people knew us already of the Great Lakes Drone Company, it's been a struggle to really push that Starlight Aerial brand. But, I have a new sales manager. I have a marketing director. All things I never had before that we brought on just in the past 2-3 years. So they're fixing my mistakes that I didn't know. Right. As the company's grown. So
I will. I'll empathize with you a little bit with the branding. Because we've run into the same thing with the name of this podcast, where I've thought about changing it because it's regionalized us. And at first, that was the intention. Like, there's no Midwest aviation specific podcast. So, but now I think that hinders us a little bit when people go look through the podcast players and go, Flying Midwest, I'm from California. What does that have to do with me?
Yeah.
But we're getting guests from all over the place at this point. I mean, we've moved away from that regionalized, I guess, interview approach that we have, and then it's helpful that we're able to focus on. Companies like you guys who are from the Midwest, and we can, kind of highlight that a bit. But
like last year, we did like 5 shows in Hawaii. So
Do it.
what's that? Sounded loud and like a lot of planes.
It's a big box.
It's the Great Deceiver, is what it is.
Big box with 3 engines on it. Actually, my friend helps run that, and he's actually from Michigan, so I give him a hard time all the time. You're going flying in the box?
Let him know that we call it the Great Deceiver. I think they need to know that. Anything else that you guys want to cover that we haven't?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Should we do the final question?
I think we should.
Here we go.
The final question. This one you can get controversial if you want.
Ooh.
Or not. We're making Brittany nervous over there. We ask every guest if they have an uncomfortable is not the word I wanted to use.
Not at all.
We ask every guest if they have an unpopular aviation opinion or hot take or pet peeves about aviation. Do you, sir, have an unpopular opinion?
An unpopular opinion. Well, let's see how this goes. So I will be the first to admit, entering the air show world, it's taken a long time for other pilots to actually look at us and what we do as equals. And it's also taken the FAA a while to actually look at us as professionals, not the recreation drone pilots out there flying around and everything and stuff. And we still see it a lot of people making comments of, because we'll do a press release or we'll do something about, our pilots or our flight crew, and, we use crew resource management and CRM and all these different, aviation-related stuff that we do. And I think we're at the point, especially with EAA and like AOPA and all the other groups that we work with and everything and stuff. And I mean, we won the International Council of Air Show Performer Platinum Award, which is, the first unmanned air show performer ever in history to receive that. The second place was the Canadian CF-18 team. I mean, I beat out an F-18. I mean, that was like the coolest thing and the coolest experience ever.
Yeah.
But I think my unpopular opinion would be that the commercial side of drone operations and everything and stuff, yes, they're pilots. They're pilots just like any other recreational pilot flying a Cessna 172 or anything else. And if anything, I think the drone pilots that I know and I see and I work with across the nation, even the recreational ones, they're doing more out there to keep the 172 and the Cirrus and all the other private and commercial pilots out there safe than what any of the manned pilot world understands or knows. And I'm hoping someday that those two worlds will see each other with a little bit more equality.
Sure.
And understand that, hey, we're all here to keep everybody in the airspace safe, and we're trying to work with everybody to make the airspace safe, but for all of us to work together and fly in that same airspace.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to close it out, but
Go right ahead.
well, I can't think of a more fitting and truthfully cinematic way to close this out than you talking so passionately about equality in the airspace with them singing "God Bless America" in the background.
I did not plan that at all.
All we need is a flag behind you while you're up on a stage. So.
Where's Goodyear? They got a flag on the side.
So
Goodyear
Matt,
to the rescue.
Yeah. So Matt, we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your, I'm sure, very busy schedule this week here at AirVenture to talk to us and give you some insight about your company, not only Great Lakes Drones, but Starlight Aerial Productions as well.
There you go. You got it.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Nope, not a problem. Anytime, guys.
Thank you.
Flight Jet 536, contact Minneapolis Center 132.35. Good day.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Flying Midwest podcast. Until next time, podcast service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. Good day.